Alberton, he knew about my manager because he read it in the trades. And he dealt with him personally on a personal level. He couldn't stand the man. And I called him up because after my manager was arrested, I had just completed an episode of Facts of Life. And I barged into his office, and his secretary was there. "You can't go in there." "Yes, I can. I need money to live." And ironically, there was a check sitting on his desk from Facts of Life. So I took it. "You just can't take it. Watch me." And I took it thinking that it was going to be, at least $1,500, $2,000, something like that. And I got home thinking that it was going to pay my rent for a couple months and buy groceries and gas. And I opened it up, and it was for $45. $45. So it was the first time that I ever called the business office, because my manager, who was arrested, did all that. I didn't. So I called the business office thinking that it was a typo, an error. And I said, "This is Geri Jewell from Fact of Life, and I'm calling about my check that I just got." "Yes." "Well, I think there's a few zeros missing." And she said, "No, there isn't." No, you don't understand. It's only $45. Well, you don't go taking huge amounts of money in advance and expect your check to remain the same. I never knew my manager did that. So I had no money, and I called Alberton, and he saw me immediately. It brings tears to my eyes to this day. He said, "Geri, your manager is a really bad man. I don't want you to ever talk to him again. Don't have anything to do with him. I'm going to write you a check. Don't you give him a cent." And he gave me a check for $1,500 out of his own pocket. And he hugged me. And he told me years later that he had all these plans for me. He was the one that wanted "Here's Geri," my own series and all that. He was the man behind it. But when that happened, he left the company. I don't know the details. And I was a part of the downfall. They didn't pick up the pieces that he had all these plans. So Al, and years later, probably in the 90s, when he was producing The New Adventures of Lassie, he wrote an episode for me to be in that. And he told me the story of that he had all these huge plans for me. And he had tears in his eyes, and he said, "Every time I saw you on TV, I just bawled because you were a part of my dream. And it didn't happen. And I'm so sorry that happened to you." And that came from Al.